What's going on, everybody? Happy Friday. I'm the Prep Queen, Ariel Epstein. I was sitting here this whole time like, oh, we have 2 minutes until 5 o'clock. Don't have to worry about doing anything. Everything's done for the show. I just realized I forgot to upload all of the graphics. So that's going to be fun to do during this opening block. I've got a few different things to talk about before we welcome in our guests. First guest of the day, as he always does on a Friday, Mid-Major Matt joining the show to talk Major League Baseball props at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. It's the first time that we're going to have him on the show. James Young from Sports Grid, a good friend of mine. He's a basketball coach, knows the game well, going to come on and talk about tonight's NBA games, to which I've got a few edges too. There's a lot that's going on in the NBA with injuries. Of course, we know, and this game's not tonight, but Steph Curry's out for the next 2-3 games with a hamstring injury. A lot of the Cavs have been banged up. Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, DeAndre Hunter, they all participated in shoot-around today. So according to the Cleveland Cavaliers, they are expected to play tonight in Game 3, which does produce some really good edges in the market, to which I will get to a little bit later in the show. Evan Mobley being on the floor changes a lot for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Wow, I've been good with Instagram for a while, and I totally forgot to do that. Last night was a really good day. I think it was the first time in the history of the Prop Queen newsletter that I had nothing to report that was wrong. You can go subscribe to the Prop Queen newsletter at thepropqueen.com. You can also subscribe to the YouTube page so you don't miss any shows at Prop Queen Sports. Subscribe, like, all that stuff so that we can continue to do well over here. Where the newsletter was right yesterday, Chris Bubich in afternoon baseball went over 5.5 Ks. He had 7 against the White Sox. Ryan Pepio went under his 5.5 strikeout prop with 3 against the Phillies. Phillies just really aren't striking out a lot. Brave starter Spencer Schwellenbach, he just got over 5.5 strikeouts with 6 against the Reds. The Reds are a team I'm probably going to stay away from. It's always a close call against them. Our betting researcher, Jessica Brand, she hit the under 17.5 outs for Red Sox starter Brian Bayo. And T-Wolves power forward, which Jessica and I both agreed on, Julius Randle, goes over 18.5 points, putting up 24 against the Golden State Warriors. You would see that if you look back to all the games without Steph Curry this season, power forwards have actually done very well, 20 or more points. So Julius Randle getting 24 was not much of a surprise. What did you guys say in the chat? It's a Friday. Let's talk. Matt Reichel says, happy Friday. Let's win some cash. Great locks last night. The Royal Locks did well. Ended up going 2-0 for a sweep. Happy Friday, Sean Michael. Happy Scooble K-Cash Day. Yeah, 6.5's kind of low. I'm very shocked that it's a 6.5. Mid-Philly Matt, sure. Hi, Jessica. Missed you yesterday. She wasn't here yesterday, but said the Prop Queen newsletter was wrong if you didn't subscribe. That's true. If you don't subscribe to the newsletter, then you're wrong. It is a big day with Seager versus Scooble. Guess they are conceding the loss tonight. Oh, they're sitting Seager against Scooble. Yes. Interesting, because I did write in the newsletter how good Seager's numbers were against him. He's hitting 667 with a double. Only 9 at bats, but still 6 of 9 against Tarek Skubal is really freaking good for Corey Seager. So he's sitting. It's so early in the season, honestly. So it's not like the biggest surprise in the world. But here's what's pretty surprising to most. Not me. I'll tell you why. I knew I should have done this before the show. Sorry, uploading graphics as I go. Sarah Langs from MLB said this is the first time the Detroit Tigers have at least a share of the best record in baseball in May or later, excluding COVID, since May 23rd, 2014. Now, I'm not surprised because if you subscribe to the newsletter, you would know that I have the Tigers to win the division. I'm still very worried about this because I thought it was very fishy that the Twins were favored to win the Central. It was great value on the Tigers, though. Everyone was so high on the Royals. Obviously, they could still get hot, but I don't know. Just saying. The Tigers are in the lead right now for the Central, and I'm super pumped about it. They've got the manager that I would be scared as a Yankees fan to have to go up and face. I don't want to face AJ Hinch and the Tigers. Hinch knows how to beat the Yankees, as Johnny Scrimsey was talking about a bit yesterday. And yes, Tigers already swept the Royals. I know, but like it's May. It's May. We can't get all hell bent over what's going on in May, on May 9th. If you're a Mariners fan, you know that your hopes get very high for all season until the last 2 weeks of the season. So much could still change. I'm not going to like sit here and jinx the Tigers and how well they've been doing recently, but I'm just saying it's looking better than my Orioles World Series pick, which I'm an idiot for giving out, but that's besides the point. The Orioles, that team's just an absolute disaster. So we're going to not talk about them. Before Mid-Major Matt comes on in about 5 minutes to talk some Major League Baseball props, a few storylines today. Like number one, this whole Bill Belichick and Jordan like thing. Why is everyone? Can someone in the chat tell me what the obsession is over? Like I get like the relationship's strange. Why is everyone like so happy that she like initially was reported banned from UNC football facilities? Now it turned out to be a lie. Like I know she's not banned, Shawn Michael. Like it was a lie. Everyone's all like crazy over this. First of all, why don't we just wait until football season to see if we could start bashing them? I understand that everyone's very intrigued by the relationship, and I know that the whole interview was a mess with her. Talking about her with UNC football, we haven't seen football yet. We haven't seen Bill Belichick coach the UNC football team. So I know people think she's a puppet master. I know people think that she's like in control of one of the best NFL coaches we've ever seen. Let's wait till the season. Let's wait until UNC gets on the field. If the Tar Heels go like 0-4 to start the season, then you could start wondering, is Bill Belichick sidetracked? Is he really still in the game? Is he still the same? Is she distracting the team? We can start diving into the Jordan and Belichick situation when we see the results on the field. You know what's going to happen. If UNC is on absolute fire to start the season and Bill Belichick starts 4-0, 5-0 with the Tar Heels, even like 3-1, if Belichick is above 500, no one's going to care. That's what Belichick and Jordan have to wait for. Let Bill throw it out there on the field. If the Tar Heels look good, this is all going to get shut up. We just have to get through the whole summer of hearing about Jordan and Bill, Shedeur Sanders. This summer's going to suck. It's going to be an absolute nightmare. I don't want to listen to all this crap. Shedeur Sanders was all over the Cleveland Browns social media today. He wasn't even taking a majority of the snaps. Yet all we saw today was Shedeur Sanders all over social media. Same thing with Bill and Jordan. I don't care. That's why I'm in betting. People always ask, would you ever go back to mainstream sports like I was a sports anchor? No. I hate this stuff. I hate trying to expose people's lives. I hate trying to undermine people. We talk numbers here on this show. We talk about what's done on the field. Sure, I'll talk about some stupid stuff off the field just to create some entertainment, but I don't care. I literally could care less. I never got into entertainment news for that reason. I don't care. If Shedeur Sanders wows people at training camp, then awesome. What I don't like is creating headlines that are absolutely irrelevant to sports. Jordan and Bill, he's not struggling and he's not succeeding yet at UNC. So we don't know. I'll tell you this. He's succeeding. You know why? Because the season tickets have probably gone up. Their opening day tickets are going to go up. Bill Belichick, regardless of what's going on with Jordan, is going to bring UNC to the next level because everyone I know, remember, I was a sports anchor in North Carolina. Everybody I know is dying to get into that building in Chapel Hill to see UNC football with Bill Belichick. Mid-Major Matt's going to come on because, listen, we talk numbers. We don't talk drama. The only drama that Mid-Major Matt care about is if a pitcher comes down to the last batter and we lose a strikeout prop because the manager kept him in one batter too long.
Listen, if Bill Belichick goes 0-4, that means the Richmond Spiders of the FCS level get a victory over him. I'm very that would be fun for me here in Richmond if that happened, but I don't think it's going to. But yes, your point is made that if he wins, it won't matter, and if he loses, well, oh well, then it's a story.
Yeah, and either way, he's still winning right now. I mean, UNC is thrilled, I'm sure, with all of the money that they're bringing in for Bill Belichick. But hey, everyone loves talking football. Football's always king. We've got baseball to talk about, Matt. Yesterday, did you have a good day yesterday? I don't remember.
I do not. We are a little cold right now, and look, I know it's heartbreaking to tell this because all the Twitter cappers hit 200% of their picks and they never lose, and so you should always follow them. But yeah, look, it's a 170-day season. We're a little cold right now, but anything can turn around.
Yeah, we're going to turn things around today, Matt. I have a good feeling because you stayed away from strikeout props and you're just going with outs, hits, and earned runs. We'll start with Jose Quintana, who you've got over 15.5 outs for. Why?
So Jose Quintana, if you take out his last 2 starts, he's made 5 starts so far this season. 7 innings in Arizona, 5 2/3 against the Tigers, 6 innings against the Giants, and then 5 against St. Louis and Chicago. So he's shown that he can go deep. And I just watched the series where the Phillies lefties looked pretty good against the Rays. The Rays have terrible numbers against left-handed starting pitchers. Overall, they faced 12 southpaws so far this season. 9 of them have gone over this number. Now, you'll notice the key thing here is I got 15.5, so I only need 5 1/3. The most places have 16.5. So that's why we always preach to have multiple outs and multiple books to take a look, because these half numbers are certainly, they make a difference, because if he goes 5 1/3, I win. If he goes 5 2/3, then everybody wins.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. What doesn't make me smile is the fact that you like Gavin Williams to allow 5 or more hits today, which you guys, everyone knows I have a soft spot for Gav, and I'm fading his strikeout prop today. But why'd you go with hits over it instead of like his strikeout prop?
So I've watched a lot of Phillies, and I know that the numbers say that they don't strike out a lot, but this is a team that can turn really quickly and can strike out a lot.
I felt very fortunate to hit that under yesterday with them.
Yeah, Pepio's got good stuff, but Pepio also, the last couple starts, I feel like hasn't struck out as many batters. I was happy at his outs over, so that was good that he was able to go 6. It was 15.5, so that won easily. But Gavin Williams, his last 3 starts, has given up 7 hits apiece. Now, the one thing to worry about here with regards to the hits is he's walking a lot more guys. He had 5 walks against the Toronto Blue Jays last time out, but you add that to the 7 hits that he gave up. And look, we're getting a hot Phillies lineup right now. This is a Phillies lineup that has gone over in 13 of their last 18 games against right-handed starting pitchers. And so I'm going to play this team. Now, the one worry was they didn't get into Cleveland till like 2 or 3 a.m. This morning after playing in Tampa Bay. So that's a little bit of a worry here, but I think this lineup is really hot, and the Phillies are the type of team that when they're hitting, you want to ride the wave, and when they're not hitting, you want to start playing some unders.
So that doesn't scare you at all that they got in late?
I mean, it does. I wish I would have known that earlier today, because I might not have played this, but also it's 4.5. Like, I think 4.5 is a really good number for spreading hits. I know I say that all the time, and half the time it happens and half it doesn't, but like, you can give up 5 hits over 5 innings. You can give up 5 hits over 6 innings. You can give up 1 here, 2 here, like, and spread it out a little bit. If it was 5.5, I'd be a little bit more worried. If it was 6.5, like Corbin or Quantrill range, then I'd be even more worried. 5 hits, I think this lineup can do tonight against a guy who's just not finding a groove right now.
I also find Aaron Nola fascinating. What word did I just come up with? He's fascinating this year because he struggled a lot to start the season. What are your thoughts on Nola, who's on the mound tonight?
So Nola gets better as the heat starts to happen. So you certainly want to play on him when it's warmer, and when it's colder, his off-speed stuff doesn't have the same bite. You know, Cleveland's really interesting. I mean, Cleveland last game had 8 strikeouts against Soroka, and that was after a stretch where they were Cleveland. They gave up 9 strikeouts to Kevin Gausman. They had 6 to Pablo Lopez. That one hurt because I had that. We had that one because we had under 5.5, and he had 6. But like this is a Cleveland team that we know makes a lot of contact, but also struggles against really nasty pitchers. And so this is one of those things where you have to look at the weather forecast tonight and see what we're kind of expecting in Cleveland. Warm weather, maybe we get the good Nola. Bad cold weather, we might give up some runs tonight if Aaron Nola is a little too cold tonight.
Before we get to the other half of your props, you mentioned weather. You love looking at the weather, and people who have watched you on this show know that. Where would you say that weather is a factor tonight?
So, this is one of those nights where I think it wasn't as much of a factor. I'm pulling up, you've had this guy on. Kevin Roth does a tremendous job when it comes to the weather. And so far tonight, he says there's pretty much nothing. It looks like, maybe
great.
a little bit of rain maybe in New York for the Mets game.
I was going to say, I'm looking out the window. It's not that pretty out here.
Yeah, he said that's a yellow, and he does green, yellow, and I think red and orange or whatever. And so it's a yellow for the Mets. But other than that, it looks like there's some that could have a delay. The Minnesota game might have a delay. Tampa Bay, it looks like we're clear. And then Washington, it looks like the rain is going to be gone by first pitch. It's just one of those things where you kind of decide whether or not you like a price of something before you get the full weather forecast, or you want to wait, get the full weathercast, make sure that it's not raining, but not necessarily get the number you want for that evening.
Some other numbers that you wanted, which my Baltimore people are going to be thrilled about, with Sugano going over 16.5 outs. He's up against the Angels. That game's at 9:38 p.m. Eastern time. Why Sugano staying in?
Yeah, the Angels are part of a 7-game homestand so far. It's a 10-game homestand, but 7 so far. Only one pitcher has gone under this so far against the Angels. Their lineup just isn't as good, without Trout. And Sugano has started to find himself a little bit. He's gone 6 innings, 5 innings, 7 and 7 his last 4 starts. One of those was on the road at Washington, and he's even doing well against some of the other lineups who aren't bad. I don't think this Angels lineup is very good, and so I'm going to take a shot here. The Orioles bullpen lost the game for them against Minnesota. It's a bad Orioles bullpen, and so as long as Sugano looks effective, I think he's going to stay out there, and we get the key number of 16.5, so I don't need 6 innings. I just need 5 2/3 from him tonight, and I think we can get that.
I am shocked, speaking of numbers, Kyle Hendricks, 3.5. That's a really high earned run number. Usually we only see 2.5s.
Yeah, this is the one that I probably would play the least on. If you notice on my Twitter account where I put down the units, it is my smallest bet of the night. Because look, Kyle Hendricks is terrible. I mean, he's not a very good pitcher. But really, if you look at him so far this year, he's had 2 bad starts. He was bad at Minnesota and he was bad at Houston. But like at home, he held the Tigers to 1 run and 4 hits in 7 2/3. Against the Giants, 3 earned runs allowed. Against the Rays, 0 earned runs allowed. And against the Cardinals, 2 earned runs allowed. And this is an Orioles offense right now that's not in great form. So I'm going to take a shot here because you're right. We don't see 3.5s a lot. You know who sees 3.5s? Corbin sees 3.5s. Quantrill sees 3.5s. Hendricks isn't good. I understand that. And this bet could look really stupid afterwards, but like 3.5, I'm willing to take a shot. Because remember, if there's errors and they're not earned runs, then I'm winning this bet. So I'm going to take a shot. It's my smallest bet of the night, but we'll take a shot.
You mentioned Patrick Corbin. He's pitching tonight against the Detroit Tigers. You got 2 southpaws. Patrick Corbin up against Tarek Skubal. Essentially, just complete opposite ends of the spectrum, with a pitcher who has like the most losses in baseball in the last 5 years and a Cy Young winner. However, Corbin's been pitching pretty well the last 2-3 outings. He's got like a 3.20 ERA. It's like his best ERA since 2019. So thoughts on Patrick Corbin tonight against the Tigers?
Well, one of the things we always look at when we make our props, and one of the things I do not like, is we're coming off of a doubleheader by the Tigers yesterday, and that doubleheader was in Coors. So we're getting a Tigers offense that played 2 games in the elevation and is now heading back home. And if it wasn't a doubleheader and if they weren't leaving Coors, I'd be all over the Tigers. The Tigers destroy left-handed pitching and have a tremendous batting average, and I'd be looking up and down the lineup and playing hits overs and stuff like that. But I'm just worried leaving the elevation, and I'm just worried about a doubleheader being their last game. And so that's why I unfortunately didn't get to fade Corbin at all today when I normally would have.
I know. I'm so surprised. I'm looking at his props. He's got a 4.5K prop, which I thought was interesting. I mean, again, I would never bet this, but lefties are averaging just over 5 strikeouts a game against Detroit, but 7 of the 11 of them have gone under. So even though the Tigers have a high K rate, the book has, I guess, figured that out, and pitchers are going under against them.
Well, outside of the 6 against Hart of San Diego, like you understand 8 against Rodon, 11 against Fried, 8 against Reagans. Like you understand those 5 against Kikuchi. Like you can kind of understand that Kikuchi has his stretches where he's really nasty. But like the guys that are really bad from lefty for the most part, Alexander, he had 2. Freeland is really bad. He had 2. Now Snell had 2 on opening day for the Tigers. But like, the Tigers are doing what they're supposed to against the lefties, striking out against the good ones and not doing so against the bad ones. So, and once again, I'd probably look to the under here, but I'm very concerned about leaving Coors Field and coming off a doubleheader yesterday.
There are two players that hit very well against Patrick Corbin. Javier Baez, 304 average with 2 homers, and Gleyber Torres is hitting 364 with 2 home runs against Corbin as well. I know we don't really do offensive player props, but hey, anyone who has good history against Corbin, I'm saying. Maybe.
Yeah. The matchup tonight of the night is Cal Raleigh. 5 of 11 with 3 homers against Kevin Gossman. That's the guy you really want to focus on if you have an extra prop bet or an extra bonus bet somewhere on your sports book. A sprinkle on Cal Raleigh tonight to hit a homer would probably be your best bet.
I'm disappointed that we had no strikeout props we agreed on today. You didn't like any.
So,
were there any you came close to?
Yeah, so the only ones that I came close to was I liked Beto under 4.5, but the juice was way too bad. It's -165, but like he just doesn't strike guys out.
But you did go with Beto to go allow 4.5 hits.
Yeah, the Yankees have gone over that number in 8 of their 12 road games, 8 of their last 12 road games against right-handed starting pitchers. And look, I understand that the Yankees lineup is hot and cold, and they're actually cold right now, but they just faced San Diego's really good starting pitching. So I'm hoping that they go to Sacramento, things open up a little bit, and they start playing a little bit better hitting-wise.
I'm definitely a little worried for how Aaron Judge could do there. That place just smashes.
He's going to hit a 500-foot home run potentially tonight. Potentially. It's going to be insane. Other than that, though, like there's just nights, and you know what I'm talking about. Like there's just nights where the pitching matchups and the games that the pitchers that are going against, like you just don't love anything. I kind of liked Clay Holmes under 4.5.
Yeah, I kind of liked it too.
But it wasn't good enough. And of course, the under is even money. So that means people are betting the over there. And so like when you're not running necessarily at your best, you don't want to force anything. I mean, look, I probably shouldn't have played 5 plays tonight. I certainly shouldn't have put money on Kyle Hendricks of all people. But we're just trying to get out of this little cold snap. And so we'll see. Quintana is my favorite one of the night, especially at 15.5. He's certainly capable of going deep in any ball game. And the Rays are so bad against lefties. But yeah, I believe in honesty. Look, we give out information here on this show. You're going to have stretches where you're awesome and everything you play is gold. And then there's going to be stretches where everything we play turns to mush. But, you just got to be honest with everybody so that way they understand.
Listen, when you're on a cold streak, you either pull back, you find a new market, you figure out a different way. I did that with the NBA. I could not figure out how to handicap the first round of the NBA playoffs. I was just stuck. Everything I did in the regular season didn't work. I finally started to figure it out. Knock wood, I've done very well in the second round. So it's just a matter of potentially changing things up a little bit if things aren't going your way. But no strikeout props for you today is absolutely wild. This Cubs streak, though, Matt, I mean, for the most part, fading pitchers against the Cubs, fading pitchers against the Mariners, feels like the book hasn't fully caught on yet.
Well, so Seattle's still really interesting to me because 6 against the oh God, I'm gonna botch his name. The Angels starter Kuchanowicz. I hope I got that right.
Yeah.
I apologize if I said that, but like he's a low strikeout guy, and they had 6. Max Meyer had 6. I mean, let's go back to it. Cal Quantrill had 5. Now, granted, Cal Quantrill just had I think 6 or 7 against the Dodgers, and I'm really kicking myself for not taking FOD last night over because we talked about it in our text chain, and I posted.
Oh
on Twitter.
Yeah, let's talk about the Dodgers. I'm like finish your point on the Mariners, but let's talk about the Dodgers and they're striking out recently.
Yeah, it's one of those things where the Mariners numbers say they don't strike out a lot, but there's still certain situations where they do, and it's kind of scaring me a little bit in terms of playing them. Like, we're seeing Gossman this series. We might see Jose Urena, who doesn't strike anybody out, and we might see Francis, who is a hit or miss guy in strikeouts. So I don't know, but like, this is still a team. Even though the numbers say they're an under team, I'm still really uneasy on them.
The Dodgers, I'm going to pull up the strikeout prop spreadsheet because it's kind of crazy. You brought this to my attention. It scares me because the problem with the Dodgers, any pitcher could go face this lineup and get smashed and leave the game. It has nothing to do with how much or how little the Dodgers are striking out. A pitcher could just get pulled for getting smashed by the Dodgers. However, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the last 7 pitchers have had at least 6 strikeouts against the Dodgers.
Well, and here's the key. Let's name some of them. Bryce Elder, he stinks. Cal Quantrill, he stinks. The Valente Balazzo, the starter for the Marlins, he's not great. Fod is fine. He gets a lot of 6s. Like, that's understandable. But, like, there's a lot of guys that are striking out the Dodgers right now, and they don't deserve it. And, like, they're getting numbers they don't deserve. So it's one of those, you never would notice this, Ariel, if you didn't do a spreadsheet. And so this is something we noticed. The Dodgers had stretches where they don't strike out a lot. Like, I'm looking at a stretch where they had 3 strikeouts total against 3 different pitchers. But now they're a team that's striking out a ton, so it's something you kind of look at. And so, as I said, I'm really mad I didn't play Fod's over. It would have been a torture pick because it went over on the last batter. But yeah, it's the Dodgers.
My favorite is that Matt texted me this afternoon. Matt, he goes, "Did you see that Fott went over yesterday? We talked about it." I said, "Yes." So are you going to be crazy and bet Erod tonight? He goes, "Absolutely not." But Eduardo Rodriguez is on the mound tonight against the Dodgers, and he's got a strikeout prop that's ranging between 4.5 and 5.5.
Yeah. And remember, what was one of our trends before the season began? Dodgers unders against lefties. And then they had 8 against Luzardo, 9 against Sanchez, 7 against Gore, 7 against Boyd, 6 against Imanaga. Like, that trend's disappeared. It's gone now. So, like, we now have to kind of adjust. So the Dodgers may score a lot of runs. And that's the thing you just talked about. Like, we have to weigh, will this pitcher get beaten up and not stay around long enough? Or will he go 5 innings and spread out 4 or 5 strikeouts?
I have absolutely no interest in a strikeout prop on Eduardo Rodriguez. I do have a potential play in that game, which I'll give out later in fishy lines, but that line is weird, Matt. Like, that Dodgers Diamondbacks line is freaking weird. Anything else that stands out that was a little weird tonight?
Well, I mean, when you look at Erod has 10 Ks in Philadelphia after having 1 K in New York against the Mets. And he had 9 in Miami, and he had 12 against Washington, but then he had 3 at home against Milwaukee, and he had 5 at home against Tampa Bay. So, like, he is a very tough guy to kind of figure out this season. He could have 10 tonight. He could have 2. So, I mean, that was a pretty easy one to pass. Now, there are 4.5s and 5.5s out there, so you can certainly, play your advantage if you like the over on one or the under on the other. But, like, he's a tough guy to figure out.
Just so everyone can see, these are mid-major Matt's props for tonight. He says Quintana over outs is his favorite. Fading my guy, Gavin Williams. Sugano over outs, so congratulations to Orioles fans. Kyle Hendricks under 3.5 earned runs, and Beto over 4.5 hits allowed on the Yankees. Mid-major Matt, thank you so much for joining the show again here on this Friday. I have to do all these different things anyway. I hope you have a profitable night. I hope you turn things around this weekend. I'm actually going to be working tomorrow, so I'll have K-Props tomorrow and the newsletter out so we can discuss, but I'm taking Mother's Day off on Sunday. Not that I'm a mother, but I'm just taking it off.
Sounds good. I will be back on the show on Monday.
See you on Monday, Matt. Okay. The transition's good. Coming up next here on the show is a very good friend of mine from my Sports Grid days, which a lot of people on here were a part of. Second Sports Grid guest. He asked me. He wanted to be the first Sports Grid guest, but Tom Vecchio had him beat. We've got to talk NBA playoffs. Haven't spoken much about it today so far. We've done baseball. I mentioned that all the Cavs starters are probably going to be on the floor tonight. Here's where you get this is where you get the edges in the market, the injuries. When players are in and out of the starting rotation, you can find edges because the books don't adjust as quickly as you think. So to talk about all that, we're going to bring on my next guest, Coach James Young. Nope, see, I do this every time. Every time I can't get the second guest on correctly. I can't produce the show. I need a producer. Anyway, James Young, happy Friday.
Ariel, good to be on with you today. Long time no talk. Congrats on the new venture. The prop queen I still see is killing it.
Oh, thank you so much. You are too, Coach. I'm really excited because, this NBA playoffs has actually been a lot of fun. It's been a few years of, I don't know, but this year, I mean, we are seeing craziness. We are seeing the Pacers up 2-0 against the Cavs. We're seeing the Knicks up 2-0 over the Celtics. The series everyone's talking about is Knicks Celtics. Before we get into your plays for tonight, that game's tomorrow back at Madison Square Garden. How much would you think that the Knicks could really go up 3-0?
Ariel, it's going to be really hard. The way Boston is shot at home, the games 1 and games 2, you figure at some point they're going to get out of it. You kind of looked at game 2 when they were missing all those threes. You kind of saw the team or even the fan base kind of like cringe a little bit as the game got going. So I think Boston's going to play better, but also the Knicks. Ariel, game number 2 was their worst offensive rating out of any game the entire season. So I look for New York to play better. Probably my best bet, over 205. I think there's going to be points on both sides tomorrow at MSG.
Makes sense. The Knicks do shoot better at home, and Jalen Brunson is going to account for at least 30 of those, most likely. All right, let's get to your plays for tonight because you've got plays in game 1 and 2. So, nope, now you disappeared. See, this thing is, anyway, no one cares to hear me rant. Pacers are taking on the Cavs tonight, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. First play you've got is Pacers team total over. Why?
Well, listen, 9 out of the last 10 games, over 5 straight. They're going to do what they're going to do, which is push the pace. And they've kind of figured out this formula, Ariel, where they can go to their bench with Toppin, with TJ McConnell, right? They can really play, 8, 9, 10 deep. And I think no matter what happens, they're going to try and get Cleveland to run because they want to test Mobley. They want to test Garland if they play tonight. So I'm going team total over 112.5 points for the Indiana Pacers tonight.
Before we get to the rest of these props, Coach, how did the Cavs change now that Evan Mobley and Darius Garland, and I know DeAndre Hunter, but like those 3 coming back, how is this Cavs team going to be different and how do we take advantage?
Well, I think you have to look at the fact that they're going to be able to have their full complement of their lineup. Now, I think missing DeAndre Hunter is going to be a big piece if he does not play, because what DeAndre Hunter allows them to do, Ariel, is if they want to go 3, 4, 5 of Hunter, Mobley, Allen, they can be extremely tall, and especially with Mobley as their 4. Or you can go Hunter at the 4, and then either one of those guys at the 5. So even if one of those 2 bigs gets into foul trouble, that kind of helps them out. Listen, Evan Mobley's the defensive player of the year. Now, I personally thought it should have been Dyson Daniels, but Dyson Daniels got most improved, so I guess I can't complain. But I think what you see is they're going to be a little better defensively. I just don't think it matters because the last 5 times that Indiana's played Cleveland, they've gone over 112.5. So it hasn't mattered for them if Mobley, these guys are in lineup. They're still going to try and run. What it probably sends you is maybe they're going to play better and win. But we don't know because Garland's missed the last 4 games. There's got to be something really wrong with that toe if you can't suit up in the playoffs.
Absolutely. And I've seen a lot of differences in some stats too. For example, Jared Allen's rebounds go down a lot when Evan Mobley is on the floor. Darius Garland's assists go up and Mitchell's go down when Garland's out on the floor. Of course, all correlated. It makes a lot of sense. It's just so difficult to bet this game early when you don't have those numbers. And it does make a ginormous impact. So you're looking the other way and you're going Max Strus over 2.5 3-pointers made. Why are you taking advantage of this bad Pacers perimeter defense?
You just said it, Ariel. Bad Pacers perimeter defense. Max Strus over 6 out of the last 8 games. 2 out of 3 versus, obviously, Indiana. And to me, Ariel, it doesn't matter if these guys are back or not. Indiana poor defensively covering the 3-point line. So I'm going to look to the guy that at one point people thought besides Donovan Mitchell would have the most threes made. Max Strus, pretty consistent shooter. I think he gets over 2.5 threes made tonight.
Pascal Siakam, we're kind of on the same page here. I'm betting it a little differently. I'm going to talk about that in Royal Locks. However, you're going rebounds plus assists. Why?
Yeah, I think if you're Indiana, you want to push the pace, especially early on, Ariel, if these guys are playing. Because I want to see as a coach, ankle, toe. That's going to be hard to push lateral movement, get up and down the floor. So if I'm Pascal Siakam, a guy that can start the break with the rebound, finish the break with the pass, I'm looking at this. Over 7 of his last 11 games, 7 out of 9 versus, obviously, Cleveland. I was thinking about, like, you know what? Do I put PRA together? I was thinking about it, hemming and hawing. I said, you know what? I'm going to go this way and see that maybe he becomes a little bit more a distributor. Over 9.5 for Pascal Siakam.
I like it. I like Siakam tonight, especially since he didn't look that great in game 2. Zigzag theory, of course. OKC Denver, the late game. You're going under with this game back in Denver tonight. Why?
Well, listen, the metrics or the analytics say last 2 games, they've both gone over. And you really think about peel it back, right, folks? It took an incredible comeback, right, by Denver in the last couple of minutes to steal game 1. Then game number 2, you get the outlying 149 points. So I kind of took those 2 things and I went out of it, and I'm like, okay, let me think about it as a coach. As you know, that's how I break things down. But then I started digging and I saw, well, the last 5 games before that, OKC went under. 6 out of 7 for Denver. And if I'm Denver, even though I'm at home, I don't want to get this into a track meet. I got to get the ball inside of Nikola Jokic. Let's see what we can do inside. Slow it down a little bit. Even though it's in the mile high, I'm going against conventional wisdom. I'm going under 232.5.
How much do you take into consideration the altitude?
You can take into consideration the altitude, yes, but when you get to this point in the playoffs, you're not going more than 8 deep, right? Now, you can look at OKC saying, well, they're more depth. They're going to try and run. But when you look at the team of Denver, listen, you look at that starting line. Jamal Murray, pretty quick. Does he want to push? Yeah, not really. Aaron Gordon plays in the half court. Michael Porter Jr. plays in the half court. Nikola Jokic definitely wants to play in the half court. That's not his game unless he's rebounding and outletting the ball out and he's just hanging back. You need a big game out of Nikola Jokic. You can look at the triple-double market with him. I think it's at plus 110, plus 125. Just make sure, folks, you shop around and find the best deal. But to me, I think it's best for advantageous for Denver to slow it down. I really think, Ariel, I said going into this series, I took Denver plus 2.5 games because I figured you have the best player in the world. He's going to steal you 2. He should be able to. He stole you 1. Something tells me this is 2-2 heading back to OKC for game 5.
Hartenstein over 10.5 points. That's an interesting one when you've got a big team to go up against.
Yes, and here's why. If I'm Mark Daigneault, who literally, coached himself out of a win in game number 1, I want to make sure that I get Nikola Jokic engaged defensively, right? I want him to work. Isaiah Hartenstein, obviously we saw him back in New York with that little push floater that he has in the lane. Over 3 straight, 4 out of 5 versus Denver. So he's got a track record going over his number. He's not a guy that's going to give you 18, 20, but can he get you 12, 13 points? Yes, he can. Look at Isaiah Hartenstein to go over his points prop of 10.5 tonight.
It's a similar thought process to what I had with Ivica Zubac in the opening round against Jokic, because you knew he's going to get the minutes. You know he's the one that has to go up against him. You just hope he doesn't foul out or get gassed.
And I honestly, Ariel, that's the key. Like, as long as Isaiah doesn't get into foul trouble, he should be able to get up and over this number. Because let's be honest, Nikola Jokic is not, even though people say the analytics, watching the eye test, he's not an overly strong defender. So, and I think if you are Denver, you're worried about a lot of other guys. You're worried about Williams. You're worried about, obviously SGA. You're worried even in the sense of a Lou Dort, Chet Holmgren. There's other guys you got to worry about. This kind of guy can lie in the weeds a little bit. So that 10.5 points looks like I think you should get up and over that.
For this last prop, I had to do a double take. I was definitely concerned for your mental health on this because watching this game, looking at MPJ, to try to do something. I talked about him a couple days ago for game 2 because he has really good regular season numbers against OKC this year. His points props down to 10.5 at this rate. He's looked terrible. His shoulder problem, I guess it's bad, but the fact you're taking a risk on him to make at least 2 threes, what goes into thinking that this is the game?
Well, number one, the role players always shoot better in their home arena than on the road. Obviously, it's more than just a 9 out of 10 games. He had hit 9 straight before game number 2, right? And I've kind of looked at Porter Jr. coming back at bounce back spots. I kind of rode him a little bit in the first round series versus the Clippers. If he came off a bad game, I kind of ran to him because I felt like sometimes they dropped his points prop way too low. And 28 out of 41 games, he got 2 threes. I'm not asking for this kid to make 3. I'm asking for him to make 2. And this is a guy that can get going early. And if I feel like Denver is going to be in this game and it's going to be half-court basketball, then the ball's going to go inside the Jokic. And I talked about this a lot last series. I would be diving Aaron Gordon to the rim where he's really effective. And I'm going to lift Michael Porter Jr. out of the corner and hope that as Aaron Gordon dives, you lift him up, you throw it out to the wing or the corner, and he gets a couple of made threes. I know it's risky, but I'm taking a chance on a bounce back spot. Give me Michael Porter Jr. over 1.5 made threes.
Michael Porter Jr. is like Rudy Gobert. You knew at some point the big game is coming. You know at some point he's going to burn the books because they have moved his numbers so low. Just like Rudy Gobert in the final game of round 1, it's the same thing with Michael Porter Jr. Like at some point he's going to go over. His numbers in the regular season were just too good. But overall, coach, with OKC, I haven't bought in. NBA in the Western Conference, that experience is going to play a factor, except now the Warriors are without Steph Curry. So the only team that I really thought had a shot to beat OKC because of experience, because they had Steph, now without Steph, is it really OKC's time to shine?
It may be, but I'm going to push back a little bit. When I saw the brackets come out, and I did this on the Betting Above the Rim show when we do with our old buddy K-Dub on Saturday mornings on Sports Grid, I said Minnesota to the Western Conference Finals. Here's why. I looked at, number one, the ascension, even though he was awful in game 1 and was hurt in game 2 for a little bit. I thought that Anthony Edwards had a sour taste in his mouth of losing to Luka Doncic last year. I looked at the fact that I thought that can Jaden McDaniels take a monumental leap, which was fantastic in the first round series versus the Lakers. I looked at someone like Julius Randle, who escapes New York, and now he knows he's not the guy. When he was in New York, he really thought he was 1A, 1B with Brunson. When you're with Ant, you're the 2. Sometimes you're the 3. And then that bench of Alexander Walker, obviously Dante DiVincenzo, and Naz Reid, last year's 6th Man of the Year award winner. I looked at that team and said, bad matchup for the Lakers for the size. But then I got to round 2 and said, well, what's going to change in round 2? The fact that Golden State is extremely small, unless Steve Kerr goes to Kevon Looney for major minutes, there's going to be a matchup problem in between the fact that you have to think about Rudy as regards to his offensive rebounding and putback, Julius Randle, and then obviously Anthony Edwards. You don't have a big, a forward, and a guard to guard those 3. You have Jimmy Butler and you have Draymond. Well, someone's going to get loose unless you brought Kevon Looney into the starting lineup. I like Minnesota going to this series. Honestly, I'm not going to lie, in 6 games or less. And after they lost game 1, I would right to the window minus 3.5 points in the first quarter, which they covered, winning by 11. I think they're going to roll the rest of this series, and if they're going to force Steve Kerr into a tough spot, down 2 games to 1, do you try and bring him back, or you pray you get to a game 6? Because there's an interesting spot, Ariel, between games 5 and 6. The Golden State Valkyries, the WNBA expansion team, plays their first game. There's a 3-day layoff between games 5 and 6. Steve Kerr's praying that he gets the 3-2 and then gets Steph back at home. I don't think he's going to get there.
It's crazy when you look at the odds, because these are the odds on FanDuel Sportsbook at the moment. The Warriors have the worst shot to win the NBA Finals now that Steph's out. Out of these teams, Coach, which one would you put your money on?
It's really crazy because going into this, I had the Celtics, and I didn't, as a Knicks fan, I'm going to be honest with you. I was like, if the Knicks get to 6 games, I was like, great job. We did our job. Well, now New York is sitting up 2-0. And the reason why the Knicks are so intriguing at 11-1 is, and I mentioned this when I saw these trades happen, New York looked at Boston and said, that's our measuring stick. We need to get 2 wing defenders, and we got to get a stretch 5. Well, OG, Mikal, Cat, check. But people looked at the series versus Boston and looked at the first 3 games and looked at the Knicks getting blown out. But there was one part people forgot, and that's Mitchell Robinson, who's played a critical role in this series, to the fact that Joe Mazzulla is doing, I guess, do we call it the hack-a-mitch now? Like they're hacking Mitchell Robinson just to get him to the foul line to try and get him out the game. But there's an interesting thing that Todd Thibodeau may go to. Folks, look at the plus minus when Cat and Mitchell Robinson are together, double big. They are just, I think they're up by like 20 points and a very, very small sample size. Game 3 is going to be the swing game. And that's how I'm going to tell people how to think about this series and possibly going forward to the NBA Finals. If Boston blows out New York, I firmly think that Boston's going to come back and win the series.
Yeah.
But if the Knicks win or it's close and the Knicks lose, they'll find a way to win Game 4 and close it out in 6. It should be an interesting
But that's
series.
why the Celtics at plus 340 is so intriguing, because if the Celtics get the win at the Garden on Saturday, you're not seeing that number again.
No, so I think that's where you look at it. There's a couple ways you do it. Do you look at this? You can look at if Boston to win the series, right, which is basically an even money. You can just take that now, because I do believe if they blow out the Knicks, they're going to win the series. Because I think, folks, the Knicks have led for 12 minutes. 12 minutes out of 96. Or actually 101, because they played a game in overtime, right? So 12 out of 101 minutes they've led. Folks, that's not sustainable.
No.
That's why the hope for New York is, do they play better at home, right? Because let's be honest, people are like, oh my goodness, Mikal Bridges, unbelievable. Mikal Bridges, until he hit that corner pocket 3 in overtime, was 2 of 12 and was scoreless going into the 4th quarter of Game 2. OG, terrible offensively. Those 2 have to be better. Cat, terrible Game 1, better Game 2. Hart, bad Game 1, better Game 2. You see the correlations here. So when you look at Boston, it's about this. How are they going to play? As a basketball coach and a purist, I hate this whole analytics, shoot the ball from 3, don't go to the hole. So to me, does Joe Mazzulla switch it up and try to attack? Because if you get OG and or Bridges in foul trouble, Ariel, there's no one on the bench of the Knicks that's going to be able to stop those guys.
Right.
No one. So I think that's something to watch for. So if you think Boston's going to rebound and take this series, you got to jump on them now before game number 4 or before this game starts. Because if they win Game 3, that plus 340 dropping by at least 50 cents to $1. They tie it up. They probably go back to less than 2-1 odds to win the title, because people will look at the fact that Boston, for long stretches of the series, have been better than the Knicks.
How concerned are you about the Cavaliers and all their injuries?
I'm very concerned. But Ariel, like, it's kind of crazy here, right? If you look at Indiana, like, you want to talk about a team that catches breaks.
Well, it's like all of a sudden it's the resurgence of Miles Turner and Mitchell Robinson, 2 players that I couldn't stand for the last 3 years, and all of a sudden these 2 like become defensive players of the year. Like, where was this?
I don't know, but the crazier thing is, like, remember last year when they played Milwaukee? Then what happened, right? Giannis got hurt. Then they played the Knicks. OG was banged up. Brunson goes out during Game 7.
We can't talk about the Knicks last year. That was right. sad.
But and no Randall, a mash unit. Like, the Indiana Pacers have, I don't know what kind of rabbit's foot they get. Maybe they got a voodoo doll and they start sticking people in spots, because Ariel, every time they play a team in the playoffs, someone gets hurt. And it's like,
and it's not just someone, it's a big one.
Right. It's a someone's or big ones. So it's something that's benefited them. Obviously, no Dame in the first round, right? And then obviously you're looking at Cleveland, it's started to become a mash unit. So Indiana's caught like a little bit of luck, but I will say this. Whoever comes out of New York, Boston,
Is winning the East.
Is winning the East. I think the Knicks have found themselves. They're a little bit more whole. They're better overall, and they have a guy that when it gets close, it's literally like you already know that the Knicks are probably going to win. Like they give it the ball to Brunson, go save us. It doesn't matter what you do the first 3 quarters. It's like what do you call him now? Captain Clutch, right? That's what he is. So the Knicks should have a pathway. Boston as well. But the concern does give you a little bit with Porzingis because he is a part of that Celtics team that really is an unsung hero because his ability to protect the rim, but also stretch the floor from 3. So if these guys from Boston want to drive, they can drive it, and then you're not relying on old man Al Horford to play it 35 minutes a night.
Coach Young, thank you so much for coming on. Good luck to your bets tonight. It was an absolute pleasure. We'll have to get you on again soon. You have any shows this weekend at Sports Grid?
Yeah, I'll be on tomorrow, myself and K-Dub, our buddy Kevin Walsh, betting above the rim pro basketball today, along with your buddy, who you let on come on our show first, which I'm still not happy about, Tom Vecchio, 10 to noon, obviously on Sports Grid, all your affiliates, and Sirius XM channel 159.
Thanks so much, Coach James Young. Good luck, and I'll speak to you again soon.
Thanks, Ariel.
See, I keep doing this. This with the guest. It's so awkward. They think they're done, and then they're not. Anyway, got a lot to get to in the last 9 minutes of the show. We've got some propaganda. It always gets my energy flowing. Game 1 tonight in the NBA playoffs. These are your most bet on props. According to BetMGM, Evan Mobley under 2.5 assists. That's random. Jared Allen under 11.5 rebounds. That annoys me because I like that too. Donovan Mitchell over 29.5 points. Yeah, I get it. I'm going to talk about this. I have another graphic built for props to look at. Tyrese Halliburton under 2.5 3-pointers made, and Donovan Mitchell first field goal. I don't care about first field goal. So here's those trends that I was telling you about, and I wrote these out in the PropQueen.com newsletter this morning. The games tonight, you've got a few trends. Like when Evan Mobley is on the floor, Jared Allen's rebounds, he hasn't had double digits in this series, not even just this playoff series at all against the Pacers this year with Mobley. 3 games, 9, 9, and 5 rebounds. Mobley steals boards from him. Mobley's had at least 10 rebounds in all 3 starts against the Pacers this season. Makes me a little concerned for Allen rebounds. Donovan Mitchell has put up at least 30 points in 3 of 4 starts against the Pacers, including the playoffs. His points prop ranges from 29.5 to 30.5. You can also look to Darius Garland over assists. It's a number he's gone over with 7 assists in both starts this year against the Indiana Pacers when he plays. Again, only 2 starts this season in that spot. The most bet on props tonight, according to BetMGM, in the late game between the Thunder and the Nuggets, Alex Caruso over 12.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Lou Dort over 9.5 points. You know Lou Dort all comes down to if he hits threes or not. Russell Westbrook over 13.5 points. People looking for that. Jokic under 28.5 points. I would not bet that at home, but I do have another way to play Jokic without worrying about the public being on the points. SGA over 7.5 assists. See, I didn't like this one. So SGA, I mentioned this in game 2. SGA went under 7.5 assists in all but 1 regular season game. He's gone over in the playoffs, but it's just like a strange, I don't like. The majority ruled to the under on SGA assists in the regular season. These are some trends. I've got the Jokic play in Royal Locks, so stay tuned to Royal Locks for that. There's a couple of trends on Christian Braun. So he had 13 rebounds in game 1, but then went under in game 2 with just 2 boards. And in the regular season, he had 3 and 5 rebounds, going under 5.5 boards. Braun has been able to score against the Thunder. His points prop, this is what's interesting, and this is why sometimes the book tells the story. Braun's points prop was 11.5 in game 2. He had 3 points in game 2. Now the book moved Braun's points prop up to 12.5 tonight. Braun scored at least 14 points in all 4 regular season matchups With the Nuggets back on their home floor, it could be a good buy low spot, especially with the banged up Michael Porter Jr., who hasn't been playing well. I know I mentioned this in the game too. Just saying with Braun, he does have good shooting numbers against OKC. It's just been weird that he's had a horrible playoff. Maybe this is his get right spot. Oh, wait, I did have strikeout props to watch too. I hate that I didn't. Here we go. Okay, I knew I forgot one thing. First, I do have strikeout props to watch, but I'll do that right before Royal Locks. Oh, okay. There is one game in Major League Baseball tonight. It's scary. Kind of. I mean, we've definitely done scarier. There's one game that had a significant line movement against. Oh boy, your fishy line of the day. Dodgers. I know, it's so painful. The line has moved 30 cents. 30 cents. Guys, usually the line moves 10 cents. 30 cents against the Dodgers, despite the public, of course, still on LA. Shockingly, the Dodgers are 7-7 against teams with a record at 500 or better. It's the second fewest against such teams. LA's also struggled away from Dodger Stadium. They've split their 20 road games this season, yet they've won 15 of 18 at Chavez Ravine. So road games are a struggle. It's because the Dodgers are scoring 2 less runs per game on the road this year than they are at home. As for the Diamondbacks, they rank 10th in runs scored at home this season. Roki Sasaki's getting the start for the Dodgers. He's been struggling with walking batters. He's got a walk rate of just under 15%. That's the second highest in baseball. The Diamondbacks offense draws the second highest rate of walks in baseball this year at just over 10%. Now, the only thing that scares me is that the Dodgers bullpen's definitely more rested than the D-backs. This happens a lot with the Dodgers, where you see that the line moves a ton in favor of the opposing team, and then the Sharps buy back on a better number, like buying back on the Dodgers at plus 100 instead of minus 130. But I've been watching this since last night. Usually by this point in the night, there's buyback. You can wait and see, but like, again, this game is going to be later tonight at 9:40 p.m. Eastern time. There's not been any buyback yet. Eduardo Rodriguez, the line moving that significantly in his favor seems very, very bizarre. Very fishy. My thought is the book is baiting you. The book is saying, come, bet the Dodgers. Look at the Dodgers at plus 100. Don't fall for it. Just stay away. Stay away. I would not bet this. You could bet Arizona if you want, but just do not. Just stay away from the Dodgers trap. Strikeout props to watch for tonight. These are not best bets. I gave these out in the newsletter. It's part of my long list of strikeout props. My best bets are coming up in Royal Locks. Bryce Elder's pretty juiced around minus 140 range. He's on the road against the Pirates that just aren't striking out a lot. Elder's faced 3 low K rate teams this season. Tampa, Minnesota, St. Louis. Did not crack over 4 in any of those starts. Righty starters, 12-17 over under their K prop, averaging just over 4 strikeouts a game against Pittsburgh. Gavin Williams for the Guardians, under 5.5 Ks, is in plus money, good value. He tends to get into a lot of jams. It's a tough, hot Phillies lineup. 3 starts this year for Gavin Williams against low K rate teams. He had 2 against Kansas City, 4 against Baltimore, and 2 against Minnesota. The Phillies are averaging just under 4 strikeouts a game against righty starters. With those right-handers, 18 of the 28 going under their strikeout prop. That includes 8 of the last 10 righty starters having 5 strikeouts or less against the Phillies. So I would look to the under and plus money there. Bryce Wilson, this one's more of a play because of the Marlins. I would take the over on Bryce Wilson's 3.5 Ks. Marlins aren't that great, so Wilson should stay in the game long enough to hit this. The Marlins have one of the highest strikeout rates in baseball, averaging just over 6 strikeouts a game. 7 of the last 10 to face the Marlins have gone over 3.5 Ks, including 5 straight pitchers. Now we've got best bets of the day. 1 minute left in the show. Royal Locks. Royal Locks. Kevin Gossman, under 5.5 Ks. I love the value here in plus money. With Gossman on the road against a very low K rate team. It could be worth a shot. I'm assuming you're getting a 5.5 because he had double-digit strikeouts last year against Seattle. Just remember, the Mariners last year struck out at a record-setting pace. This year, they're averaging 2 less strikeouts a game against righty starters. That's why you're seeing 16 of the 22 righty starters to face the Mariners go under their strikeout prop. Go with the under here on the Gossman K's. Pascal Siakam, I gave this out in game 2. It lost, so I'm going back to it for game 3. Zigzag theory. Siakam's had 8, 9, 7, 8, and 6 rebounds against Cavs starters. His rebound prop at 6.5. I'm going to say he hits it this time. The best way to play the MVP, Nikola Jokic, rebounds plus assists over 22.5. He's gone over this number in 4 of 6 matchups against Oklahoma City this season. Jokic had 28 rebounds plus assists in game 1, just 14 in game 2. He should go over this in game 3 at home. Happy Friday, everybody. Thank you all for tuning in. For anyone who's a mother, has a mother, happy Mother's Day. I am very excited to go home. It is disgusting out in New York. I think it's raining. I got to go catch a train, have some wine with my mom. Have a great weekend. I'm going to be on Wager Talk tomorrow. Last call, 11 a.m. Eastern time, filling in for Kelly in Vegas. Subscribe to the newsletter, thepropqueen.com. I'm going to have a newsletter out tomorrow. The newsletter is coming out in a minute as well for all of you subscribers in case you missed anything from the show. Or you could go back on YouTube at Prop Queen Sports, subscribe, like, follow along. You never have to miss a show. We had Mid-Major Matt come on with baseball props. James Young, basketball coach, come on and give NBA props for tonight. So in case you missed any of that, make sure that you go to the YouTube page and check it all out. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Good luck with your bets tonight, and I will see you Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern time.